Hello everyone, my name is Roya and welcome to If You Like This, Try This SFF edition. So this is actually a topic for the BookTube SFF Babbles, which are prompts that anyone with any sort of bookish thing where they talk about books on can do. So if you have a blog, you are welcome to do it or whatever. You don't have to be a booktuber. So definitely I will leave that down below so you can check out what all of the prompts are that are coming up. And this is actually my first time doing the BookTube SFF Babbles, which is kind of weird because I read so much SFF and that's like most of what I read, but I've never actually done these prompts before. And the odd part is that I have been wanting to do a If You Like This, Try This video on my channel for quite a while. And when I saw that this was a prompt for the BookTube SFF Babbles videos, I thought, wait, all the ones that I had sort of on my list to do this with are SFF anyway. So that is what this video is going to be about. I will show you a popular book and tell you about a somewhat underhyped book that, a somewhat less hyped book, rather, that you could try out if you liked that popular one. So let's just get started. If you like Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coldhurst, you should check out The Privilege of the Sword by Ellen Kushner. So this is actually the companion sequel to Swords Point, which is a lot more famous than this one, but I really enjoyed this one so much more. So basically, in both of these worlds, we have queer main characters who are fairly commonplace. Nothing is taboo about being queer at all. And we basically follow two women falling in love in both of these. And what's really great about this one is that pretty much every character in this book likes anybody. Like, everyone's bi in this book. If you enjoyed the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, you should check out the Hythrun Chronicles, in particular the Wolfblade Trilogy by Jennifer Fallon. So the Wolfblade Trilogy is actually the second in the Hythrun Chronicles, but it is a prequel, so technically you could read it first if you wanted to. I recommend reading them in publication order, but that's not really like needed or anything. So the Wolfblade Trilogy in particular takes place in the kingdom of Hythria, which is one of like 4 kingdoms that the entire series takes place in. And Hythria has an overruling high prince, basically is pretty much the king, but not. And it has 7 regions ruled by a warlord in each of them. And so it's a little bit like Game of Thrones in that there are 7 kingdoms that are actually part of the same one, that they were just once independent. So it's a little bit the same, where we have a whole bunch of like people who are in charge of this part of the kingdom, and they're all like, they all hate each other or like each other or whatever. There's tons of political intrigue and lots of badass ladies, and it's really awesome. If you enjoyed The Diviners by Libba Bray, then you may like Moonshine by Jasmine Gower. So this is kind of a weird one in that The Diviners is a historical fantasy, more or less. But Moonshine is actually a fantasy. It takes place in a 1920s-esque world, but it's totally not the world as we know it during the 1920s at all. It has fantasy races in it, it has tons and tons of queer people in it, but and also just tons of world building that is nothing like the world as we know it. But pretty much both of these take place in a 1920s-esque world where magic is somewhat commonplace, like more so in this book than in The Diviners, but the main character in each one is a pretty awesome chick who has some kind of power revolving around objects, and it's definitely very, very interesting. So I highly recommend checking this one out. This next one is a weird one because I'm not entirely sure which of these is more popular than the other, but they very much are similar, and if you liked one of them, you should definitely check out the other one because they do have some similar ideas and at the same time are also very different. So if you liked the Arrows trilogy by Mercedes Lackey, you may enjoy the Green Rider series by Kristen Britton. So this, I'm only mentioning this one first because it came out first. It is from like 1988 pretty much, and this one is far more recent, but they basically, I'd say they're about equally popular or so. So they both revolve around people who work for the monarch. In this case, they are just administrators of justice, sort of, and in this case, they are messengers, and they ride special horses. In this case, they are companions, which are sentient horses who talk to them, etc., etc., and in this case, they are just horses that are slightly smarter than other horses, but they're pretty much still horses, and they both have magical abilities where each person has a separate magical ability, and it just really depends. And they are both pretty awesome. I much prefer the Green Rider series, but I think they are both similar and very different in a way, and it's really weird. Let me know if you've read any of those books, or if you have a this is similar to this and you should try this recommendation, or any of that, and let me know what your favorite underhyped SFF book is that's similar to a more hyped one in the comments, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!